welcome to the Sales and Marketing for Decorators podcast with me, John Mears. And once again, I am joined by the legend himself. It's Grant from Shakepear. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? That's quite the intro you always give me. I love it.
I like to see people's reactions when I just give them a completely unexpected, over-the-top intro.
I love it.
No, but you are. You've the last podcast was brilliant, and I've been excited to talk about this one. Today we are going to talk about how to get to the top of Google, which is, I think, massively important for any business. So let's talk a little bit about. Firstly, let's go into why is it so important to be at the top of Google. I did a little bit of research before we started, which I know is surprising. I do research sometimes. So I saw that 97% of people start their buying journey online with an online search. And regardless of what it is, if you're looking for a tradesman, 97% of people, the first thing they do is go to Google and go painter and decorator near me or something like that. So yeah, I mean, that alone is massively important. But what else? Oh, my phone thinks that I'm talking because I've said Google too much, and my phone's just started listening to me. Sorry, yeah. So yeah. Apart from that, what else do you see as why is it so important for businesses to be at the top of Google?
Yeah, I mean, you've touched on the main reason there is because almost all traffic on Google tends to go to either the adverts at the top or within the top 3 people on the first page, the top 3 websites. Simply because and once you go below the top 3, you're looking at sort of maximum about 40% of the traffic that's the rest of the first page. By the time you get to page 2, that drops to maybe 5% of the total traffic. Anything beyond that, you might as well not even exist online. I think people just don't have the patience to scroll through Google when they know, and it's Google's job is to give you the answer quickly. That's why people use Google. That's why Google's become the household name, because they're great at what they do. You search for something, they show you the most relevant result. And that's really what it all comes down to, is relevance. Google wants to show you the most relevant thing to what you're searching for. So they're doing the best. And the reason why SEO is important and being at the top of Google is because if you think about it, every single person who types in those words, could be, let's say, decorator in Bristol, where we are, they are a potential customer. They might be at a completely different stage of the buying journey. There might be someone who's ready to book you in next week. There might be someone who's thinking, I am considering decorating my house in the next 5 years. I wonder who's around. It's worth having your name there because it's all of those touch points that people need to get to know you. And that's why it's important to always be at the top. Even if they don't click on you, they are still going to see your name being at the top of the list, and then people will know that you're out there.
I think it adds a certain amount of credibility as well, doesn't it? If you're top of the first page, if I search, painter and decorator Bristol, the first person at the top, I think, well, you know, this is a company that's not messing about. You don't get to the top of Google by accident. Surely they must be relevant. Is obviously a great word, and Google has deemed them to be relevant from that search. So I didn't realize that the second page of Google is just like a desolate wasteland. There's just nothing there.
I mean, barely anyone will go to the second page. Some people, if they're really discerning and don't find what they're looking for on the front page, will go to the second page. Beyond that, it's a graveyard.
Yeah, so if you're not on the first page, well, yeah, you're nowhere. So, okay,
it takes effort to get there, though, and that's why we're talking about SEO today.
Definitely. So, SEO being the magic, well, it's not a magic word, it's an abbreviation, isn't it? But acronym, is that the word?
Acronym, yeah.
Acronym, bang, I'm flying today. SEO, search engine optimization?
Correct. Yeah, that's the one.
So, in a nutshell, what is SEO? Sort of how does it work? Can you break it down for someone quite simple like me to understand how it works?
SEO, the sentence that I use regularly is SEO is making your website look sexy to Google. That is basically it. It is making your website look so attractive to Google that it thinks that you are the person to put at the very top of the listings. So go ahead.
And what does Google find sexy then? What does it look for?
So Google's broken down. This is what they are very shady about how they do their ranking. They keep their algorithm completely hidden. They don't tell people because then it can be exploited and so on. And it's the job of people like ourselves to try and work out what's within those sets of algorithms to boost it up. What they have released is another acronym, which is EAT, EAT, and that stands for expert, authoritative, and trustworthy. So Google is looking to boost up the rankings, websites who are deemed to be experts in their field. So the wording on their website, the information on the website shows them to be experts, that they're an authority on it, meaning that they're well respected in their field. People know who they are, and that they're not, I don't know, scam artists, something like that. Because the last thing Google wants is to be promoting people who aren't true to themselves. And that's where this final one, trustworthiness, comes into it. So Google needs to be able to trust you. And this is where, and we get this quite a lot, especially with people who have got brand new websites. You've just had your website done. The next question is, how do I get to the top of Google? Always. Yeah. And the first point is it will take time for Google to trust you, because you build a brand new website. You could be anyone. You could be pretending to be anyone you want. Google's not going to go, oh, cool, like this guy's just built a website, let's stick him to the top. It will take time to climb up. And obviously everyone else is on that journey as well. And it's about making your website as sexy as possible to Google so that it understands what you are and boosts you up.
Yeah, so when I built my website about a year ago, jmears.co.uk, I could literally type that into Google. I could type jmears.co.uk into Google and I wouldn't be the top of the search. So many more other things would be. So I guess that is Google going, right, we're not going to put you on the first page straight away. You've got to build up that authority and that trustworthiness and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I think I got there on some searches, like searching for my own name or literally searching for Jay Mears. After about 6 months or so, I started to see myself. I don't Google myself every day, by the way. I'm not that narcissistic. Just most days. But I found that after 6 months or so, a lot of links to my page were on that front page of Google. So I guess that was, from my side, I think it was more luck than judgment. It was putting new content on all the time and putting stuff on my website, which was telling Google, okay, this guy's got a little bit of expertise, some authority on it. He's been around for 6 months now, so there's some trust being built there. I guess they've got all sorts of clever different ways and algorithms and stuff to see, what they can deem as a trustworthy website.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And I mean, you say you did it by accident, but realistically, you were just running the site in the way that it was intended to be run. And that's what it comes down to, is there are methods to make your website look attractive to Google, and there are styles that what you should follow to make life easier for yourself. Yeah. But what it really comes down to is, are you providing the right answers for the people who are searching for those who are asking those questions? So if you are a decorator in Bristol, is your website clearly going to explain how you are a decorator in Bristol if someone searches for that term? If it doesn't, if you hide that information, if you don't mention, let's say, Bristol, even if you're in Bristol, but you call yourselves Joe Blogs Decorators, and you don't really mention you're in Bristol apart from your address on your contact page, Google doesn't know that you're in Bristol. You've not specifically told it, and therefore it doesn't think that you're relevant to the people who are searching for those particular terms. And we'll come on to that a bit later when it comes to sort of optimizing your site.
So I guess that leads into the first thing being about keywords. I think people are familiar with what keywords are, and I think people know they're important. I know they're important, and I think with my website personally, I like to write a lot of blogs and put new content on there constantly. And I think, if we take that example of a painter and decorator in Bristol, you don't want the only only time Bristol is mentioned on your website to be on your contact page. So you want to do blogs and maybe case studies, and within those case studies you're saying, right, we did this painting and decorating job in Bristol, we hung some wallpaper, we used this paint, and all these sort of keywords. Then I guess that's what Google are looking for, and they'll go, right, we're trying to find the most relevant answer to that question. Someone's asked for a painter and decorator in Bristol. Here's 10 websites. Okay, well, this one mentions painting and decorating, and it mentions Bristol 15 times across the whole website. Let's put them at the top. Is that sort of how it works?
Yeah, that's a way of looking at it. So what it's quite important to say at this point is, let's move on to, like, this is like one of our first tips, really. So when it comes to putting the keywords on your site, and keywords, for anyone who's listening who doesn't know what the definition is, it's essentially what you would type into Google. So in this instance, decorator in Bristol, that phrase is your keyword. It doesn't have to be one word. It can be 10 words if you want it to be, but that's what you've typed into Google to show a set of results. And the most important thing to do is to put yourself in your customer's shoes. And it's the same as when you're designing your website. It's the same as when you're doing anything. Imagine what it is that they are going to be writing and typing into Google to get you to show up. And they may well not be using the same words that you are within your day-to-day work. It's quite important to try and make that differentiation. I mean, we find this a lot when we work with people within some of the sort of like heating engineered trades. People throw around words like power flushing and stuff quite a lot. And if I had just bought a house and I needed my central heating looked at, and I knew that something was up, but I didn't work with trades like I do, I probably wouldn't necessarily know the word power flushing.
Yeah.
So it's about creating wording on your website which sort of explains what people are getting at. It could be like faulty central heating or radiators not working. You're sort of using those phrases rather than the actual specific technical terms that you might be.
Yeah, I guess for like painters and decorators, you don't want to be using technical things like, you know, we're saying, oh, have you got saponification in your paint? And people are, no one's typing that into Google.
Yeah, precisely.
You need to put it into words like, oh, you know, my paint is bubbling, or there's a reaction and stuff like that. You need to put it into words that, you know, Joe Blogs, like you say, is going to be typing into Google.
Exactly that, like flaky paint repairing or something. Yeah. Something along those lines is far more likely. That's the type of thing that a layperson is going to type in. They're not going to know the terms which you might use. But that you mentioned before, it's sort of a number like 50. They've mentioned it 15 times and so on. Google hasn't released how many times you have to put a keyword on before it pays attention. Okay. We tend to say, like, let's say you've got, I don't know, 500 words of writing on your page spread out over all of it. We tend to say like 3, maybe 4 times mention it, because beyond that you start to get in what we call keyword stuffing, and Google hates that. Google really dislikes people just writing the same phrase over and over and over again, because it's rubbish when you read it. As a user, if you just see the phrase over and over again, you're just like, this sounds like it's written by a robot. And Google, ironically, doesn't like it if you try to make your website attractive to only Google. This is the whole point, is that they are a customer service tool. They are always thinking about the customer. So keep it so that it reads like English. That's our best advice. So don't overstuff it. If you're reading it and you're like, gosh, I'm saying that a lot now, you're probably saying it too much.
Yeah, I guess you don't start a battle trying to trick the algorithm. Don't try and outsmart Google. They've got a lot of people that are very clever trying to make sure you can't do that. So there's no point trying. It reminds me of years and years ago when I was looking for a job. A recruiter told me that at the bottom of my CV, I should write loads of keywords and then put them in white.
Yeah.
So it didn't show up, but all the searches would find it easier. And I was like, I wonder if people do that on their web pages as well.
So you know what I was about to say, that this was a tactic in the 90s and early 2000s. It was called white texting. And it genuinely was, and it worked. It worked a lot of times. You could scroll to the bottom of websites and you could highlight text, and it would just show you the words over and over and over again. And then Google slowly rolled out updates that stopped that sort of thing. And now, if you don't be tempted by the dark side, because if Google finds that, then they can sort of negatively affect your site, and they will sort of drop you down the ranking straight away. Worst case scenario, they can blacklist your site, and then you just never ever show up in Google for that domain.
You'll get the Google slap.
Yeah.
And then you're done for. I mean, you're done for if you're on the second page of Google. But yeah, if they completely demote you and get rid of you, yeah, you're bang in trouble. Okay, so let's talk about some quick practical tips that the listeners could put onto their website within the next couple of days or so, without sort of overstretching. That's going to help them climb their way up Google.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the first ones, and it's sort of linked to what we've already been talking about, is to really focus on get specific about your services. And we briefly mentioned this last time when we were talking about how to sort of build out your website. If you've got access to add additional pages to your site or edit the ones that you've got, get really specific, especially about your services or your customer. So let's say, for instance, that you offer decorating services for the retail sector or for residential, obviously, hospitality, could even be schools. Google, as we've said many times, and I'm going to keep saying it, loves relevance. Mm-hmm. So if you were to have a page on your site that was, say, dedicated to painting and maintenance and decorating within schools,
yeah,
and it mentioned that you were in that particular service area, for a start, there's not going to be that many people who are doing that, which is amazing, because it means that if someone searches for that, you're going to be up higher, especially if you've made an effort to do what we've been saying. And secondly, it just really helps with that relevance, and you're far more likely to rank up. So think about the type of customer you're going to be working with. It could be retail, and also think about the services that you're going to be offering. So exterior painting, interior, you might be an expert in painting high vaulted ceilings, something along those lines. That's level of specifics works really well in your favor. So have a look at your site, and even if you're just looking at it without sort of getting into editing it, and look at your pages and see sort of how specific are they. Think, am I talking to customers in my local area, or am I being a bit too generic? Am I offering a specific service, or am I just saying I am a decorator and I do like, if it's a really long list, then Google's like, well, this isn't really relevant to that particular person because they're saying they do lots of different things. So you can find on your homepage, but in your actual individual service pages, be a bit more specific.
Yeah. So so exterior painting is a good example, because I see a lot of decorators, they'll have somewhere on their website, we offer exterior painting, but then no more detail on that. And something that I think a lot of people forget is a lot of decorators they'll do exterior. Their idea of exterior painting is windows and doors, but they won't do masonry, or they won't repaint roofs. So if you're going to have a page on your website that says we do exteriors, then break it down further and put some more specific information saying we do old timber windows. And again, like you say, think about what are people going to put in. So they might be putting in, they need their windows restored. So you put window restore or restoration or something like that, and just then you could put a little bit of detail on how you repair and repaint and fix window frames and stuff like that. And the same for doors. And if you do masonry painting, talk about masonry painting separately as well. And then I think just talking about all those different things is going to mean that when Google, in that fraction of a second, looks at your website, they're going to go, there's quite a lot of information here on this person's Googled, they want window frame repainting or something like that. You're going to put you at the top because you've got more information specifically talking about that.
Yeah, that's exactly it, on the nose. You want exactly that. You want to get specific. So if you were to let's roll with that example with the window frame repairs or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Include case studies on there as well, because in case studies you can say one of the sub-districts of Bristol is called Horfield or something, and if you put, here's an example of us repairing windows to the exterior of a property in Horfield and Bristol, within that little case study you've hit all of the things that Google's looking for. And it sounds natural, and you've got clear examples of your work, and that would work perfectly.
Yeah, and then you're covering people searching for painters and decorators in Bristol, painters and decorators in Horfield, window repair. Yeah, so okay, awesome. So getting specific, I think that works really well. What else can we do?
Okay, so when people are actually making their sites, people pay a lot of attention to what they can actually see on the page, but there's a lot to SEO that's sort of slightly hidden, and it's available to everyone. And if you use WordPress or GoDaddy or Squarespace or Wix or any of these, you can do this. You want to look up how you can edit your page title and your description. So if you go on to Google and you Google anything, let's run with the same example, painter in Bristol. You'll see the blue link, which will have like the name of the website, and that's where you click on to get to it. Underneath, you see that small paragraph, and that's what we call the meta description of the site. And it's one of the places that Google looks at to work out what's going on that web page. And within there, that's the next place where you want to be putting your keywords. And these are all editable, and all you need to do is there'll be an SEO tool attached to each of your websites. If people need to know the specifics, they're welcome to get in touch, and we know where almost all of them are. And there are tools which you can use to input this data. And again, it's just about being clear about what that page is about. So if you did window restorations, then you would just say, are you looking for a window restoration company in Bristol? We've got over 25 years worth of experience doing this. Happy to come out and deliver you a free quote. That's sort of a perfect meta description. Then within the page title itself, so the blue link that you would click on Google, lots of people don't really pay attention to that. And it might just say Windows and then a name of your company. And that's sort of a missed opportunity, because what you could put in there is, this is where it comes down to being specific again. You could say window restoration company in Bristol, then put your name, and then if you've got space, you can even put your telephone number, or you can put the name of your brand. There's lots of different opportunities there.
See, this is interesting because I probably a couple of months ago now, I used WordPress and I downloaded a free plugin called Yoast.
Yeah, Yoast is great.
Yeah, so Yoast for anyone who wants to look it up. Yoast is a free plugin which helps you with exactly that. So every time I create a page on my website, there's a little bit at the bottom, and it will go, and it allows me to edit the title and the meta description, which is exactly what you're saying, what shows up in Google. But it'll also, as you start typing, it will go from red to amber to green, and then back to amber, and then to red again, so that you know what's the optimum amount of words to have in your title and in your meta description. And I started doing that on my blogs for the last couple of months, and I have seen quite a big increase in the amount of people that are going to those blogs just via Google searches, and I guess that's the reason for it. What I try and do with the page title, the bit that comes up in blue, is I try and make that a question or maybe an answer to a question. So in the recurring example we've got going on here, I would make that bit in blue, the title description, something like looking for a window repair, or looking to restore your windows to their former glory, or looking for someone to repaint your exterior, that sort of thing. Something that will catch people's attention. And then you've got your meta description underneath, where you've got, I don't know, probably a dozen or so words that you can go, right, what you are, how you do it, where you do it, that sort of thing, phone number, exactly, and get that information in there. But yeah, that's interesting. I'd been doing it but I didn't sort of know how important it was and how much of a difference it could make. But clearly, so that's one of the bigger things that Google look at.
Yeah, 100%. And then following that, they look at what's actually on your page itself. So what your headers say, what the actual wording says, what type of images you've got, that sort of thing. But so there is like a little hierarchy, but that's right near the top. So it's well worth doing. And it's worth just sort of finding out how to do that on your own website.
Yeah, okay. That sounds good. Any other top tips?
Absolutely. When it comes, and lots of people do this, when it comes to, especially if you're managing your own website, people get excited and they take lovely photos on their phones. Everyone's got an incredibly high resolution camera in their pocket now. Yeah. And we regularly see people uploading photos onto their websites, which are many megabytes in data per photo. And when you start uploading multiple galleries of these, it means that your website just crawls to an absolute slow down, like snail pace. And this is because every time a new person comes to your website, they have to send all of that data. And especially if you're on 4G or something, it will just take an age to come through. And speed is a massive part of SEO. Google will actually look to see how fast a website loads in terms of ranking it. If your website is taking longer than maybe only a couple of seconds, 3 at max, to load, chances are you're not going to get very close to the front page, simply because people won't hang around to click onto your site. And if people aren't hanging around on your site, again, that's another ranking factor for Google. If they're clicking on it and not waiting for it to load, that will drop you down the rankings. So
Google want to give you the best answer, and speed is a big part of that. They don't want to put a load of websites that, however relevant they might be, they don't want to put them at the top if nobody's got the patience to wait for them to load.
Absolutely.
I'm exactly the same, and yeah, it sounds like everybody is. If it doesn't load within half a second, I'm like, no, back, find another website.
100%, and that's what it comes down to. So when it comes to uploading your images, there's some really cool tools which are completely free online. All you have to search for is, now most images that you take on your phone are either a JPEG or PNG. They're just the two file formats. Upload them onto your computer. Go to Google, type in JPEG or PNG compressor, and go onto that site. And there's one which I believe is just called pngcompressor.com or compresspng.com. They're both. There's tinypng.com as well. Click on those, and you just drag and drop your files, press compress, and it reduces their file size by sometimes up to 80-90%. And you don't lose any image quality. It just turns them into files which are useful for web. And we do this for every single one of our clients. Whenever we're uploading images onto their sites, compress it first. It just helps with the speed. And that's something that you can do. If you already have loads of images on your site, it's painstaking. But if you've got half an hour, re-download them, put them through this, re-upload them, you'll see a massive decrease in the speed it takes for your site to load, and that in itself could boost you up the rankings.
I think that's one of those jobs that you look at it and think, oh, I can't be bothered to do that, but when you actually sit down and do it and get into the flow of it, it probably doesn't take that long for most people to just pull the website, pull the pictures off, compress them, put them back on. And yeah, if you're reducing the size by 20% each time, that is going to make a huge difference to your overall, isn't it?
Yeah, look, absolutely.
If that takes you from page 2 of Google to page 1 of Google, that could be worth thousands of pounds. That half an hour that you're spending doing it. So
yeah, it's well worth it. Well worth it.
Perfect. So what about videos then? So we compress the photos. Videos are obviously massive files. Is there something we can do there?
Yeah, so videos are sort of the even more nightmare scenario. So compressing videos is a really tricky process, and you'll need like professional video editing software, etc. The thing that we recommend doing above everything else is not uploading videos onto your site, because then they have to load them every single time. Instead, upload them to YouTube, and you don't have to publicly list them. There is the private list option, or you can just hide them from the listings if you don't want your videos just in public domain. And then you can get what's just called an embed link, and all you have to do is press the share button, and it gives you the option. You copy that, stick it onto your website, and it will embed the YouTube player on your site. And then whenever someone wants to watch your video, it streams it from YouTube rather than from your website. So it doesn't load it immediately as soon as they get to your page.
Yeah.
And that will reduce loading time dramatically.
I started doing this, and like I said, I'm on WordPress, and it's so easy to do it. You literally, it works on blocks on my WordPress anyway, and you just type in YouTube, and it goes, right, here's YouTube. What do you want in this block? Put the link in, and then you literally just put the link from YouTube straight in, and it does the rest for you. And it's like, oh, okay, brilliant. And it looks just like a normal video on your website, but yeah, you don't get that 10 minutes of bloody loading time when someone clicks onto the page.
And the other massive benefit of putting it on YouTube is it does actually help your own online presence. It helps your SEO, because YouTube is Google's platform. Google owns YouTube.
Yeah.
If you upload it and you do the same keyword sort of ideas that we were doing, so let's say you uploaded the video of you restoring a window in Bristol, and you called that video Window Restoration in Bristol. If someone searches for it, Google loves to put their own stuff at the top. So that's why you get Google Maps at the top. That's why you get their ads. And you sometimes get videos. And quite often, your video can go straight to the top. And even if your website is on page 5, 10, whatever, your video can be right at the top. And it's a quite nifty way of skipping the queue. And if people click on that link and it takes them through to your website and they watch it, then they hang out on your website and they spend time watching your video and they click around, Google's going to build up that trust, and then slowly but surely you climb up the rankings.
I think that is a great way to, like you say, jump to the top of the queue.
It does work. It does work. So we've got one final.
Go on, let's have one more.
One more. There are loads of places out there where you can get people to link back to your website for free. And links are a massive, massive part of SEO. It basically shows that other websites trust you. Yeah. So this is where this sort of EAT thing comes down to: expert, authoritative, and trustworthy. Mm-hmm. If other websites are linking to you and they're sort of essentially passing on some kudos to you, you're seen as trustworthy at that point. And one of the easiest ways to get authoritative links are to go to the directories. So go to places like Thompson Local, and there's a place called, I think it's called this city listings, something along those, Yell, those type of places where you can upload 192. You can upload a profile onto these websites, and within those profiles, one of the things you can do is pop your website, and that counts as a link from someone like Thompson Local or your local newspaper, for instance. They all do these local citations. A link from them to you is worth a massive amount, because they're seeing it as a newspaper, or Thompson Local are actually legitimizing you and linking to you. And that makes a big difference in terms of where you are in the ranking. It builds your trust rating. And there are loads of them out there. There are loads of free citations that you can get. And there are some websites, if you just search for like citation listings or something on Google, there are some places which will collate loads of them. So you only have to upload your details once, and it will ping them out to lots of different ones.
Citation listings.
Yeah, citation listings. And yeah, there'll be lots of different ones there.
Awesome. Okay. Something that's I've just thought of. I've got a customer who probably a couple of years ago had a new website done. It looked amazing. It still looks amazing, and it was the top of Google, and it was brilliant and fantastic, and this like that. And maybe 18 months later, it was just like, I seem to have slipped off the first page of Google. What's going on? What's happened? What is it that can make you slip down Google?
So it can be a variety of things. Sometimes it's through no fault of your own, and it's simply that other people are trying harder. it can be that they are uploading fresh blog content all the time. They're updating their photos. People are linking to them. They're getting loads more reviews on Google My Business or Facebook or the likes of that. And they are simply being seen as a more with a higher level of authority and more trustworthy than you. And these companies will just begin to overtake. I mean, SEO is a marathon. It's a marathon, to be honest, that never ends. Because it's a bit like updating your website. You can't just go, I've done my website, forget about it, and that's it. Same with SEO. It's an ongoing process that you have to keep coming back to, and you have to keep sort of investing in and building on, because if you don't, then exactly that happens. You slip down, usually because other people have gone up. It can also be because you might not have updated your website in a while, and something's happened to it.
That's exactly what he did. I think he got it done and then didn't touch it for 18 months.
And I mean, and Google no longer sees that as fresh and relevant content. It just thinks, well, these people may not even be trading anymore. And there are these 10 other companies who are regularly posting. They must be more relevant, and we'll put them in front. And that's how it goes, really.
Yeah, so I think you've got to look for ways where you can regularly put new content on your website, and that's uploading images, case studies, blogs, that sort of thing. Just as you say, if you're standing still, then the competition they're going to keep coming and they're going to start overtaking you. So it's a marathon that never ends. I like that. So it's you've got to keep going.
Keep plugging.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think that nicely covers that. You just mentioned Google My Business. Now this is something I'm very interested in. A lot of people, they will have a Google My Business page, and they're sort of very keen on making that better. Can you sort of give us in a nutshell, what is Google My Business? How's that different to your website, and how can it help?
Cool. So Google My Business is Google's version of getting your business listed. So similar to what I was just explaining there. But the way that Google My Business works is it essentially puts your business on the map, literally, through Google Maps. That's how you get that red pin. And you don't have to have the red pin. So if you exclusively go and visit people, you don't have an HQ that people can visit and so on, you can hide that. But it gets your business a listing, and it also enables people to leave you reviews. Now, not everyone loves their review platform because anyone can leave a review. They don't have to engage with you. And we do hear lots about fake reviews and people leaving malicious reviews and so on. You can go back and request that they're removed, but we'll come back to that a bit later. Google My Business is one of the most powerful tools that you can have when it comes to your own SEO. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. Google loves their own platforms. So if someone searches your name, and it's a bit like you were saying earlier, John, like Google will, if you have your Google My Business listing exactly for your company name, Google will almost always show you immediately at the top, because it's an exact match. And Google, and if that searcher is within that local area, they'll almost always do it. Now, Google My Business was initially set up, and it's meant to be still to this day, for people who are walking down the street and are looking for something in their local area. So it's if you're walking down the street and you're gasping for a pint and you just type in pub, and it shows you the nearest pubs, and you can just click on it and it gives you directions and off you go. That's the idea of it. So one of the biggest ranking factors, and lots of people say, why am I not sort of higher up on the map listings? Location is huge. So if you are, lots of people go, oh, I'm number one on Google because they're sat literally underneath the red pin on Google Maps. And that's where they are. And it's because you are searching essentially for an incredibly relevant service because it's literally on your doorstep. But the reason why it's also really helpful is because it's really visible on the homepage. So if you were to go and search for a company name, so if you're listening and you know you've got Google My Business, search for yourself, and on the right hand side of the page, you'll see a ton of information, and it will flash up pictures, a map, your business name, reviews, reviews from other places as well, and it is a huge presence to have.
It's a massive bit of real estate on the Google page, isn't it? Because Google
100%.
obviously historically it's so clean and there's very little on there. It's just text. You search something. So Google My Business, I think, am I right in saying that it's the only way you can get images and your logo and stuff like that on that front page of Google? Everything else is just that blue link to click and then the little meta description.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's through Google My Business. That's how you end up being. You might search for something and you'll have the ads, and then there'll be a small section which is Google Maps, and you'll see 1, 2, 3. It's usually ABC or something.
Yeah.
Those businesses are only there because they have a Google My Business listing. And
it's free to set up, isn't it?
Completely free and genuinely really quite straightforward to set up. In fact, we did a whole YouTube course on how to set up and optimize your Google My Business listing. I'll ping you the link so that you can share it. Or if you just search for Shakepear and go to, there's a Google My Business section on our website, and the course is all there, and it's completely free, and people can have a look at it. There are lots of different ways. It's very similar to make the most out of your website. Your Google My Business listing is very similar to your website. So you put in those keywords, it still works the same way. You let people know what services you are. We tend to say it's the what, where, and who. So it's what do you do, where do you do it, and who are you, and who are your customers, and that's how it works.
Is there a way to sort of grow your reach? So on Google My Business, obviously part of it is it's very relevant to the location. Someone's walking down the street, they type in painter and decorator, whoever's on the map pinned closest to them is going to get that. Is there a way that maybe if I wanted to target the next town over or something like that, is there anything you can do on Google My Business there, or specifically?
So it will work best if it's sort of within your local area, but you can set up service areas. So you can even write down like postcodes that you serve or different areas that you serve. You can say that you're nationwide. You can even set a radius from a point. So you can say, I will serve people up to 20 miles from our point on the map. And you get to set all of this yourself. And the customer won't necessarily see that. It's just you will flash up if they search and they are within that physical area.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's absolutely ideal for painters and decorators, isn't it? Just put a radius on there. If you're happy to travel 30, 40 miles or whatever it might be, then you put that radius and you'll pop up in people's searches. Yeah,
100%. And whilst people might have their foibles with the review platform, I do strongly recommend it as a place to put your reviews. Because most websites can pull them through live. So lots of people will put testimonials up on their website, and that's great. But you end up with the same 3 people who you did work for 5 years ago. Whereas if you are getting people regularly coming and putting reviews onto your Google My Business page, you can link that onto your website, and it will just show them the latest reviews. And if people are seeing, oh, actually, like Jim got a review last week and it's 5 stars, so he's going and he's flying, and that's probably worth a call.
And that's another thing that Google are going to be looking at for your search ranking.
Exactly that.
And what's better than 5-star reviews from a couple of days ago?
Yeah, correct. 100%.
Awesome. Okay. All right. That sounds really good. So, where can we learn a bit more about you guys? And obviously, you touched on your YouTube channel. I'll put the link to that in there. But where can we find you online?
Yeah, so you can visit our website, which is just shakeandspear.com. It's like Shakespeare, but with an and in the middle and an E on the end. But also we're really active on Twitter. Feel free to come and say hello to us, send us a message on there, tweet at us. We chat with lots of trades on there. In fact, most Thursday mornings we have a big get together with lots of different trades who come and say hello and let us know how their week's been going. We got different themes, so yeah, drop on by, say hello, cool. Or just feel free to ping us an email or even pick up the phone. People still do that, I think.
Yeah. And so you've got a couple of offers on at the moment, because obviously building websites is your core business. So tell me about, you've got one-page websites you're offering at the moment. Are you still doing those for free?
We are still currently doing those ones for free. Yeah, for at least the next couple of months, we are offering, excuse me, one-page websites for free. And this started back in the days of lockdown one, as a way of getting people to who have never been online before, haven't really ever got around to it. It's their foot on the ladder, and it's a way of sort of showing people what we can do, really. And the one-page websites are completely free. You would supply us with the address if you wanted one, we can just set that up for you. It's designed by our team and up and ready quite quickly.
Superb. Yeah. And then you've got the next step up is, and we've got an offer on this, is your 5-page website. So the five-page website you offer, and of course this is all specifically for trades, isn't it? That's all you do.
Correct, yeah.
So what's included in the 5-page website?
Yeah, so your typical 5-page website, you have your homepage. We tend to also make sure that you've got a contact page, and then this is where, and it's a good start for SEO really. You get your individual service pages. So this is where you get to be really specific about what you're offering. We try and break it down into 3 specific services that you might offer. And then we create those pages for that. And that sort of makes up your 5-page site. And it can be anything you want. If you wanted to have a core about page, so you can show off about who you are, show your vans off, show yourself off, we can do those. And this is what we would call our development sites. So they are the best place to start, I would say.
Yeah, and that's those 5 pages. That's everything you need for a website, for a tradesman website. But also, I'm guessing that you're doing a lot of work on inside some of those little back end bits that you were talking about to make sure that it's already very good SEO wise. So it's a good start for getting you towards the top of Google. So it's not just a website, you help people get to the right place on Google as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So every site that we build will come with what we call a foundation of SEO. So the pages that we do, it's everything that we talked about. So we will make sure you've got keywords on there. We'll make sure that you've got the right page titles, meta descriptions, all that sort of stuff. That's all in place so that when it goes live, you've got the best possible first step, the best foundations. And then if you really wanted to go for it and try and get to the top of Google, you'll need to sort of invest time and financially into SEO. And yeah, slowly but surely you'll get there.
And that's when people can look at all the tips on your YouTube channel and on your website and everything. Superb. Okay, and so we've got an offer on that. You've very kindly given me a discount code that I can offer to people. So the 5-page website is usually only £500, which is ridiculously cheap because doing it yourself costs nearly that much,
especially in time.
Yeah. So they're usually £500, but if you use the code John Mears 10, then you get 10% discount on that. So that comes down to £450. So that's just a case of when people email you or give you a call and when they're in discussions with you to obviously get their website built, then they just mention the code John Mears 10 and 50 quid saving. So that's nice. Thank you very much for setting that up.
No, you're very welcome. That's no worries.
Brilliant. So if anyone wants anything more from me, just go to my website, jmears.co.uk/ebook, and you can get a free download of my short ebook with 7 marketing secrets to help you get started with your painting and decorating business. Grant, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on again, mate.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. Goodbye.